Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's unbelievable story that has taken the coin world by storm, we begin with a question that instantly pulls you in and makes you check your pockets right now. What if the most ordinary-looking 1987 1-cent coin from the United States, a coin that millions of people handled without a second thought, suddenly turned out to be worth an astonishing $438 million, becoming the most expensive face value coin ever rumored in modern history, due to a shocking combination of minting mysteries, mechanical mishaps, die catastrophes, metal anomalies, and unexplained production quirks that numismatists are still debating with fierce curiosity, excitement, and disbelief. Because the idea that a single penny could surpass the value of mansions, supercars, luxury estates, and even private islands is so mind-bending that collectors and enthusiasts cannot resist diving deep into the possibilities that could elevate an everyday cent into a treasure of mythic proportions. And as we explore this phenomenon, we unravel a layered journey through the potential die variety errors, hub doubling possibilities, striking irregularities, alloy mix-ups, environmental preservation miracles, and rare survival circumstances that together fuel the viral explosion surrounding the 1987 1-cent piece that has become the centerpiece of numismatic discussions, social media debates, and global fascination, because the year 1987 itself was never considered an extraordinary minting year in the United States. Yet within that ordinary production run may lie a coin that defied all expectations through a combination of one-in-a-billion conditions, starting with the possibility of extreme double die effects that some collectors speculate may have occurred during mismatched hub impressions, creating not just the common light doubling that occasionally appears on circulating coins, but the potential for deep, sharp, dramatic, and unmistakable doubling on the date, lettering, and iconic Lincoln profile, which, if such a coin surfaced in pristine, untouched, museum-quality condition, struck perfectly and preserved for decades without exposure to humidity, abrasion, or corrosion, could instantly elevate its rarity to astronomical levels, especially if the doubling were combined with multiple layered errors from separate production stages, such as a misaligned strike where the obverse and reverse do not perfectly correspond, a rotated die error that slightly twists the reverse design off, true north, or a broad strike where the collar failed during striking, causing the coin to expand but still retain full detail. Each of these errors valuable on their own and exponentially more valuable when appearing in combination. And beyond striking errors lies the tantalizing possibility of alloy contamination, because although 1987 pennies were officially copper-plated zinc, there have long been unverified rumors, theories, and collector speculation that a tiny number of cents from the mid-1980s may have accidentally been struck on bronze planchets leftover from earlier years or mistakenly fed into the presses due to storage anomalies, maintenance confusion, or machine misfires. And if even one bronze planchet were used during the 1987 run, the difference in weight and composition alone would create a monumental rarity, especially if that bronze planchet coin also carried doubling or multi-stage errors, instantly creating a once-in-a-century marvel that collectors would fight fiercely over, driving its hypothetical value skyward until it approached figures that seem impossible but not unimaginable in a world where rare physical artifacts can sell for staggering amounts due to their irreplaceability, cultural significance, or astonishing backstory. And this potential 1987 cent may also carry the mysterious allure of transitional anomalies, which occur when mints shift metals, modify processes, or adjust machinery. And although the United States Mint did not officially change the penny's core metal in 1987, transitional anomalies have occurred in other years and unexpectedly appeared decades later, sparking bidding wars, documentaries, and legends. Therefore, the idea that a hidden, undocumented, or accidental transition experiment could have produced a single unique 1987 sample adds a deeper layer of intrigue to the ongoing viral buzz. And when you combine this with the possibility that the coin could originate from an early die state with razor-sharp details, satin-like fields, and flawless preservation, untouched by circulation, air, or human contact, stored perhaps unknowingly in a drawer, album, or forgotten roll for 38 years, the theoretical value rises even more sharply because collectors, museums, private investors, and wealthy enthusiasts from around the world have shown a willingness to pay extraordinary amounts for coins that represent perfect storms of rarity, mystery, and historical curiosity, and one must not Overlook the power of cultural fascination and the momentum created online when stories emerge of ordinary coins turning into fortunes, because millions of people suddenly look at their loose change with hope, excitement, and adrenaline, fueling discussions that propel a coin's fame into the global spotlight, where speculation and mythology intertwine. And this 1987 penny rumor, amplified through social media, forums, and collector channels, has become a symbol of the impossible becoming possible as enthusiasts analyze every known 1987 cent for doubling, plating flaws, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, cuds, ghosting, or chemical anomalies, each possibility adding weight to the growing belief that somewhere, perhaps still unrecognized, lies a specimen so extraordinary that its existence alone would redefine the boundaries of numismatic history. And while no official documentation confirms a $438 million sale, the hypothetical scenario has captured imaginations worldwide, because the combination of extreme rarity theory, speculative excitement, and the mystique of undiscovered treasure triggers a sense of adventure and wonder deeply embedded in human curiosity, creating an emotional connection to the coin itself. And as people imagine what such a coin would look like, they envision an impossibly perfect strike, dramatic doubling that leaps from the surface, metal tones unique to its composition anomaly, and the untouched glow of a coin that somehow escaped the fate of billions of others that endured decades of wear, damage, and neglect. And perhaps the most powerful force behind the viral surge is the idea that fortune can hide in plain sight, that a single penny, overlooked and dismissed by almost everyone, could secretly be a historical masterpiece of minting error, rarity, and survival. And this thought inspires millions to examine their change jars, pocket clutter, and dusty coin collections with new attention, creating a wave of participation that spreads the story farther and faster, building momentum until the legend of the $438 million 1987 penny becomes a phenomenon in its own right, proving that even the smallest coins can carry the largest stories. And whether the legendary coin is eventually found, authenticated, or remains a myth woven from the threads of error speculation, numismatic curiosity, and human fascination, the excitement it generates reminds us that every coin has a story, every year carries unknown mysteries, and every collector dreams of discovering the one piece that rewrites history. So if you enjoyed this deep dive into what makes the 1987 1-cent coin spark worldwide buzz and reach an unbelievable face value rumor of $438 million, make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more incredible coin stories that keep the thrill alive. Next, 1961 D1 cent USA coin. Imagine holding an ordinary-looking coin that seems like it belongs in any pocket, purse, or forgotten drawer. Yet the moment you flip it into the light, you realize you might be touching a piece of numismatic history capable of rewriting everything you thought you knew about rare money. And that is exactly the kind of electrifying moment collectors dream about when they stumble upon a 1961 D1 cent coin that some believe could reach an unimaginable face value of $440 million because of the extraordinary, bizarre, and nearly impossible errors that have been reported on a handful of surviving examples. And today this story pulls you into the dizzying world of minting accidents, mechanical anomalies, die failures, metal contamination, off-center strikes, doubled elements, machine misalignments, and rare flukes that transform a humble 1-cent copper coin into a once-in-a-generation treasure that can turn an ordinary person into a millionaire. And in this thrilling deep dive we explore every mysterious possibility, every microscopic clue, every strange imperfection, and every theoretical scenario that explains how a coin minted more than 60 years ago could end up as one of the most unbelievable jackpot discoveries in collecting history. So let's dive into the universe of hidden details where the 1961 D-cent becomes a legend of errors so outrageous that they defy logic and pull serious collectors into fierce bidding wars. When you think about the Denver Mint in 1961, you imagine massive presses slamming down with tremendous force, copper planchets tumbling in controlled batches, mint workers monitoring dies, and machines calibrated to perfection. Yet the real truth is that even with the best precision, unexpected errors slip through. And this is where the story of the ultra-rare 1961 D-error cent begins, because a handful of examples are rumored to contain a staggering combination of misstrikes that should not coexist on one coin, beginning with doubled obverse features where Lincoln's profile shows a ghosted outline, forming a shadow effect so sharp that collectors believe it could not be simple machine doubling but rather a true double die scenario created when the die received two misaligned impressions during its preparation. This doubling becomes even more dramatic when the date, particularly the 1 digits in 1961, shows split serifs, slight separation lines, and expanded contours, all of which indicate a rare die variety that was never officially acknowledged. And while many 1961 D cents show light mechanical doubling, the specimen tied to the mythical $440 million valuation reportedly exhibits crisp definition that suggests a deeper-level die error. But the mystery does not stop there because certain legendary examples supposedly display a rotated die strike where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by several degrees, creating a visual twist that immediately elevates rarity since rotation errors over 15 degrees are already attractive to collectors and anything beyond 30 degrees becomes extremely valuable. Yet, in the folklore surrounding the $440 million piece, the coin is said to show rotation so extreme that it qualifies as a minting phenomenon almost never seen in regular circulation. Adding to this chaos is the alleged presence of lamination errors on the surface where the metal seems to peel or flake due to impurities in the copper alloy, and these imperfections form swirling textures that catch collectors' attention because they indicate the planchet was defective before striking, making the coin even more of an anomaly. Then there is the tale of the off-center possibility because some early reports suggest the coin was struck with a slight misplacement of the planchet, leading to a subtle crescent where the rim appears thinner on one side and thicker on the other, and while typical off-center errors are easy to identify, this one is uniquely balanced, just off enough to be noticeable but still keeping most of the design intact, which collectors love since the finest off-center pieces maintain full date visibility. Next comes the reverse, where the iconic Lincoln Memorial supposedly contains microscopic doubling on the interior columns, creating a shimmering, layered look especially around the central statue area, and such fine doubling is rare because the reverse dies of the early 1960s typically show fewer dramatic doubled varieties compared to other years. Some versions of the legend even claim that the mint mark D shows a repunched effect where a mint worker may have applied the mark twice, causing a subtle shift that forms overlapping impressions, a variety known as RPM or repunched mint mark, which is highly collectible and often the main reason certain coins skyrocket in value. Combining all these elements into a single coin defies probability, yet that impossibility is exactly what fuels the myth of the multimillion-dollar 1961 D cent. The story gets even more intense when you consider that some collectors believe contamination in the metal mixture caused unexpected coloration changes over the decades, giving the coin a reddish-gold glow that sets it apart, and unique toning can dramatically influence value when its pattern appears natural, symmetrical, and aesthetically striking. Others claim its weight differs slightly from the standard copper cent, hinting at an irregular planchet that slipped through quality control, and while a few milligrams may not seem important, any deviation from official specifications sends experienced numismatists into a frenzy because even tiny differences can reveal massive factory mishaps. Then there is the possibility of strike doubling combined with hub doubling, something extremely rare because the processes occur at different stages, the first during die creation and the second during the actual strike. So when both appear together, it suggests a multi-layered minting disaster that could not have been intentional. Further rumors push the story deeper into speculation, suggesting that this particular coin may have been part of a very small batch that was accidentally exposed to extreme pressure variations inside the machinery, causing faint distortions along the rim, known as finning, where metal squeezes upward, creating raised edges visible under magnification. There are also whispers about die cracks running through Lincoln's jacket or across the memorial columns, forming lightning-like fractures that collectors adore for their dramatic appearance and rarity, because these cracks reveal moments when the die was near failure yet still continued striking coins. And if all this was not enough to send value skyrocketing, some claim the coin also shows a perfect strike despite all the errors, meaning the details are crisp, sharp, and deeply defined, which contradicts the expectation that error coins must look sloppy, and this contradiction is perhaps the biggest reason enthusiasts describe the $440 million 1961 D cent as numismatic magic. As the story spread across collectors' communities online and in auction previews, excitement skyrocketed, and even though no verified sale ever documented a $440 million price tag, the mere belief that such a coin could exist turned the 1961 D cent into a treasure hunt for thousands of collectors who began checking their jars, rolls, vaults, and old family stashes hoping to find a mistruck marvel hiding among common pennies. Enthusiasts often say the rarest coins are not the ones you buy but the ones you accidentally discover, And that belief keeps the myth alive because every time a new error cent appears on the market with doubling, cracks, rotation, or lamination, people wonder whether it might be related to the legendary super error specimen. Whether the coin truly reached or could reach a valuation as unreal as $440 million becomes secondary because the thrill of possibility is intoxicating, and that feeling is what keeps the legend of the 1961 D error cent growing year after year. As collectors continue to search, examine, compare, and debate, the fascination intensifies, and what started as a simple copper penny minted in Denver transforms into a symbol of numismatic wonder where the smallest imperfections create the largest dreams, reminding everyone that sometimes history hides in the least expected places, waiting for someone curious enough to look closely. If you enjoyed this thrilling deep dive into one of the most astonishing coin legends ever told, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible discoveries about rare coins that might be sitting in your pocket right now. Next, 1983 1-cent USA coin. We dive into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, a tale that continues to shock collectors, spark debates, and ignite curiosity among anyone who has ever held a penny in their hand. And today we are exploring the unbelievable journey of the 1983 1-cent coin that enthusiasts claim could reach an unbelievable value of $442 million because of extremely rare errors, mysterious production mistakes, and theoretical possibilities that blend fact, speculation, and excitement into one compelling narrative that keeps viewers hooked from start to finish. And as we unravel this story, we will look at why the 1983 penny stands out, what kinds of errors experts search for, how unusual minting conditions allowed strange varieties to form, and why collectors around the world see this coin as a potential treasure hiding in plain sight, since every tiniest detail, from its metal composition to its striking method, its die wear, and its production process, plays a role in determining whether an ordinary 1-cent piece could transform into a multimillion-dollar rarity that numismatists dream about finding, especially when stories circulate about wild auction prices, unimaginable estimates, and the notion that a misstruck or unusual penny might be worth more than a mansion, a sports car, or even a private island, which is exactly the type of incredible possibility that keeps the legend of the 1983 1-cent alive and thriving in the minds of collectors and treasure hunters. The foundation of the 1983 penny's intrigue begins with a major historical change involving the metal composition of U.S. cents, because in 1982 the United States Mint transitioned from the traditional 95% copper alloy to a copper-plated zinc composition that used a thin copper layer over a zinc core, a decision made due to rising copper prices. However, this transition created a variety of unexpected errors, unusual combinations, and transitional anomalies. Coins struck on the wrong planchets, coins that retained the old copper alloy, and coins struck using equipment not fully adapted to the new materials. So by the time 1983 production began, the minting process was still stabilizing, allowing a number of extraordinary mistakes to slip into circulation undetected. And although most 1983 pennies are common and worth their face value, a few have gained legendary status because they exhibit traits that should not exist, such as being struck on copper planchets that were supposedly discontinued, showing doubled elements that appear almost ghost-like, or carrying microscopic die cracks and misalignments that reveal how unpredictable minting had become during that transitional period. One of the most famous errors associated with the 1983 penny involves the so-called 1983 copper planchet anomaly, in which some pennies were struck using leftover copper blanks instead of the copper-plated zinc planchets that should have been used, and while these copper-based errors are extremely rare, they demonstrate how easy it was for leftover materials to get mixed into new production cycles, resulting in unexpected varieties that collectors desperately search for. If a 1983 penny appears heavier than usual, weighing around 3.11 grams instead of the typical 2.5 grams, this opens the possibility that it is one of the rare transitional errors that have sold for huge amounts at auction. And although the documented sales have not reached hundreds of millions, the fascination surrounding such anomalies often leads to exaggerated valuations, speculative stories, and viral claims that a single extraordinary specimen, if ever discovered in flawless condition with multiple overlapping errors, could theoretically reach a staggering figure like $442 million simply because true one-of-a-kind coins often become priceless to the wealthiest collectors, especially when scarcity, historical significance, and mystery collide to create a perfect storm of demand. Another important factor contributing to the 1983 penny's mythical value involves doubled die varieties, particularly the well-known 1983 doubled die reverse, which displays noticeable distortion and doubling in the lettering of 1 cent and e pluribus unum, making these coins far more desirable than their ordinary counterparts. Doubling occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives more than one impression in slightly misaligned positions, a mistake that results in letters or details appearing to have shadows or duplicates. And although the U.S. Mint eventually improved its die-making processes, the early 1980s were marked by imperfections that allowed dramatic doubling to occur more frequently than intended, giving rise to some of the most cherished modern varieties. So when collectors imagine an incredibly rare 1983 penny worth hundreds of millions, they envision a specimen that combines the copper planchet error with dramatic doubling, possibly paired with additional anomalies such as off-center striking, broad strikes, die breaks, or misaligned dies that could enhance the coin's uniqueness and theoretical value. Beyond those major errors, many micro-errors and subtle imperfections also contribute to the mystique of the 1983 penny. These include die cracks that form thin raised lines across Lincoln's portrait or the Lincoln Memorial, die chips that appear like blobs of extra metal in areas such as the letters, numbers, or Lincoln's ear, mechanical doubling that causes flat shelf-like distortions, and weak strikes caused by uneven pressure or worn dies, each of which tells a story about the conditions inside the mint during that period and adds layers of narrative appeal that collectors find irresistible, especially when rare combinations of these flaws appear together on a single coin, making it a potential one-of-a-kind treasure. Another fascinating possibility is the accidental use of foreign planchets, which happens when blanks intended for other denominations or even other countries accidentally mix with U.S. minting materials, resulting in coins with unusual weights, colors, or metal compositions that can dramatically increase their desirability. And although no widely confirmed 1983 pennies struck on foreign planchets have surfaced, the chaotic conditions of early zinc penny production leave open the theoretical chance that such a coin could exist, which further fuels speculation and adds to the legend of the 1983 cent being capable of reaching astronomical valuations because collectors always chase the what-if, the unique discovery, and the thrill of stumbling upon a coin that no one else in the world possesses. The storytelling element also plays a huge role in the perceived value of the 1983 penny, as numismatics thrives not only on metal but on history, mystery, mythology, and the human desire to uncover something rare. When a coin has a strong narrative, like being produced during a chaotic transitional year, featuring multiple legendary errors, and offering the possibility of being the only one of its kind, its theoretical value increases not only in financial terms but in emotional and historical significance, creating the perfect environment for viral claims, sensational headlines, and eye-catching valuations like the $442 million figure that floats around in discussions about the rarest potential errors imaginable. The value of such a coin, if ever found, would be driven by factors like condition, rarity, demand, provenance, and uniqueness. Collectors value coins not simply because of the metal they contain but because of the story they represent, and the rarer the story, the higher the potential value climbs, especially when the coin shows exceptional preservation, such as being graded at the highest possible levels by professional grading companies, which could amplify the price exponentially because perfect condition error coins are unimaginably rare. While the $442 million claim is not grounded in documented auction sales, it symbolizes the excitement, imagination, and limitless potential that surround the hunt for extraordinary coins. And in the world of collectibles, theoretical valuations often become part of the legend, inspiring people to check their change, search through old jars, visit flea markets, and examine every detail of every penny they encounter, hoping they might be the lucky individual who discovers a penny that defies expectations and transforms a simple copper-plated coin into a life-changing fortune, which is exactly why the 1983 penny continues to fascinate collectors around the world. If you enjoyed this deep exploration into rarity, history, errors, and incredible possibilities, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable stories from the world of numismatics. Next, 1974 D1 cent USA coin. Today, we are diving into one of the most unbelievable and electrifying discoveries in the entire world of coin collecting as we explore how a simple 1974 1-cent coin, a tiny copper piece most people would overlook without a second thought, has become the center of a mind-blowing claim that places its value at an astonishing $441 million, a number so massive and so surreal that it immediately grabs attention and makes collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday viewers wonder how a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could ever reach such a legendary status thanks to rare errors, minting mistakes, one-of-a-kind anomalies, and mysterious possibilities that continue to fascinate experts and fuel countless discussions. And as we begin this thrilling journey, we welcome all the viewers who love uncovering hidden treasures, rare numismatic stories, and shocking facts behind the coins that have shaped American history. And today's topic promises to be one of the most gripping deep dives you have ever experienced because the 1974 1-cent coin is no ordinary coin. It is the kind of specimen that sends collectors into a frenzy, stirs debate across auction houses, and forces experts to examine every microscopic detail in search of the truth behind what makes this particular penny so extraordinary and potentially worth more than almost every other known coin in existence. So let's take a deep breath and plunge straight into the heart of the story. A story filled with metal composition mysteries, experimental strike theories, unexpected mint blunders, and unimaginable coincidences that combine to form one of the most captivating narratives in the world of rare coins. And as we walk through this tale, we will look at how small imperfections, mechanical flaws, and unusual minting conditions can transform a humble cent into an item of astronomical value. Beginning with the era itself, because the year 1974 was a turbulent period for the U.S. Mint as officials were experimenting with alternative metals due to rising copper costs, and in that atmosphere of experimentation, uncertainty, and innovation, countless oddities emerged from presses across the country, particularly in Denver where the 1974 cent was struck by the millions. But among these millions, the possibility exists that a handful of coins, or perhaps even just a single coin, was manufactured with characteristics so distinct, so unrepeatable, and so mysterious that it could command a staggering price tag of $441 million, and one of the most widely discussed theories among collectors involves the possibility that the 1974 penny may have been accidentally struck on an experimental planchet, because during this year the U.S. Mint famously tested aluminum planchets for potential circulation, and while most aluminum cents were recovered and destroyed, rumors persist that a few escaped into the hands of workers, visitors, or even circulation, meaning that if a 1974 aluminum cent ever appeared with verified authenticity, it would be worth a fortune far beyond imagination. But even if the coin in question is not aluminum, other rare planchet varieties have been discussed, such as bronze planchets with incorrect weight, transitional compositions, or even foreign planchets accidentally fed into the Denver presses, and any of these anomalies alone could explain a massive jump in value because collectors pay enormous premiums for mistakes that should never have happened, especially during a year of intense experimentation. And when we examine minting errors, the list becomes even more intriguing because a valuable 1974 cent could feature off-center striking, double striking, dramatic die breaks, raised die cut formations, clipped planchet edges, brockage imprints, rotated dies, or a spectacular double die obverse that could dramatically increase its desirability. And in some extremely rare cases, coins struck by dies that were overused, improperly prepared, or damaged create sharp, bold, erroneous details that collectors nickname with dramatic terms like ghost doubling, shadow letters, or phantom date stretching. And each of these strange visual anomalies can, under the perfect circumstances, elevate a simple coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But to reach a valuation of $441 million, the coin would need to be more than unusual. It would need to be historic, unprecedented, and possibly the only one of its kind. And that is why many experts speculate that the mythical ultra-high-value 1974 cent might be connected to a lost mint prototype, a misstruck experimental piece, or a coin produced by accident during late-night testing when mint workers were adjusting machinery, because such secretive or undocumented events have been known to produce some of the rarest coins in American history. And for collectors, the mere possibility that such a specimen exists is enough to ignite fierce bidding wars, speculative buying, and intense research into archived mint documents, metallurgical reports, and eyewitness accounts from employees who worked at the Denver facility in the early 70s. But what amplifies interest even further is the fact that some 1974 cents have already become controversial and famous, including the well-known aluminum cents tied to legal disputes between private individuals and the U.S. government, and these controversies add layers of mystery, drama, and excitement to the 1974 series, making the Denver mint marks especially captivating because Denver was known for high-volume production and occasional mechanical strain on its equipment, which increased the odds of unnoticed slip-ups, mechanical jams, die cracks, feeder malfunctions, planchet jams, and other interruptions that can yield extraordinary mint errors. And when a dramatic mint error is discovered on a coin from a year already filled with experimentation, the numismatic world pays very close attention, and that attention fuels speculation, speculation fuels demand, and demand can drive hypothetical valuations into astronomical territory. And that is exactly where the legendary $441 million valuation is born, not necessarily from a documented sale but from the explosive combination of theoretical rarity, hidden possibilities, and the imagination of collectors who understand that some coins become priceless. Not because of what they are today but because of what they represent, and the 1974 cent represents uncertainty, experimentation, secrecy, and the thrilling chance that something miraculous slipped through the mint's fingers unnoticed. But even beyond planchet errors and striking mistakes, there are breathtaking possibilities involving transitional elements, such as a Denver-minted penny struck using a planchet intended for another denomination like a dime or foreign coin, or a hybrid error, involving mismatched obverse and reverse dies, creating a mule error, one of the rarest and most valuable error categories in all of numismatics. And if a 1974 mule cent ever appeared, it would instantly become one of the most valuable coins ever discovered because mule errors are so rare they occur perhaps only a few times per century, and collectors chase them with nearly obsessive determination, sometimes paying prices that exceed luxury homes, exotic cars, or fine art. And if we imagine the most extreme scenario where a 1974 cent was simultaneously a transitional experimental strike, a mule error, and a unique planchet anomaly, we begin to understand why some experts entertain valuations in the hundreds of millions, even though no such coin has surfaced publicly. But the world of rare coins is filled with unexpected discoveries, including coins found in old jars, dusty garages, forgotten estates, and bank rolls that sat untouched for decades. So the possibility remains that a miraculous 1974 cent could still be out there waiting for someone to discover it. And that possibility alone adds to the excitement because collectors are driven by the dream of finding the impossible coin. The kind of coin that changes lives, rewrites history, and becomes the subject of documentaries, interviews, and museum displays. But beyond the errors themselves, we must consider human fascination because people love stories of ordinary objects becoming extraordinary treasures. And a penny valued at $441 million symbolizes the incredible idea that something tiny and overlooked can suddenly become priceless. And this emotional power increases the coin's cultural value. The same way art or historical artifacts gain significance not merely from material but from myth, rarity, and narrative. And once a story reaches a certain height, the value becomes symbolic as much as financial. And the 1974 cents legend continues to grow as more collectors, researchers, and enthusiasts share theories, photos, and discussions about what unusual traits a coin of such tremendous value might have. But whether the mythical ultra-valuable penny features misaligned dies, over-polished fields, doubled design elements, unintentional metal mixing, obverse rotation, wrong planchet striking, or unrecorded experimental material, the essential truth remains that the 1974 cent has become a magnet for speculation and curiosity. Next, 2017 P1 cent USA coin. We dive into another incredible story from the world of rare coins, where small pieces of metal can sometimes carry histories, mysteries, and shocking values beyond imagination. And today we are exploring the unbelievable tale of the 2017 P1 cent coin that collectors claim could reach an astonishing value of $443 million because of a combination of errors, mistakes, oddities, and circumstances that have turned this ordinary-looking penny into one of the most discussed modern coins in numismatic circles. So let us journey together through the details, the speculations, the possibilities, and the dramatic twists that have fueled the belief that this coin, despite being minted in massive numbers, might be hiding versions so rare and unusual that their worth reaches legendary proportions. And as we begin this exploration, We welcome all viewers who are passionate about coins, curiosity, hidden treasures, and the idea that sometimes the most unassuming objects might carry unimaginable value. So settle in and get ready for a deep dive into a coin that continues to spark debate, fascination, and excitement across the collector community as we unravel the strange case of the 2017 p-cent and why some believe certain rare examples could be worth more than nearly anything else unearthed from pocket change. The 2017 penny holds a special place in United States minting history because it marks the first time ever that the Philadelphia Mint placed a visible mint mark on the 1-cent coin, a major departure from more than 2 centuries of tradition in which pennies struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all, and this historic change alone has made the 2017 p-coin interesting to collectors because first-year issues often become significant milestones. Yet this coin's notoriety does not merely rest on the novelty of the mint mark. Instead, it arises from rumors, confirmed reports, possible anomalies, and a series of documented errors that appeared during its production run. Errors that have persisted in conversations among hobbyists who claim that strange varieties exist and that some of these pieces may be radically more valuable than anyone could have predicted, fueling theories that certain ultra-rare versions of the coin could reach values so high they defy normal numismatic logic. One of the primary categories of errors that collectors focus on involves double dies, meaning that during the striking process, the design elements on the die did not align perfectly between strikes, resulting in split lines, doubled letters, or distorted shapes, and reports circulated from the moment these coins entered circulation that faint yet visible doubling had been discovered on the date, mint mark, and parts of Lincoln's profile, which immediately attracted collectors because such errors, even in modern coins, can escalate their worth significantly. Some speculate that extreme doubling varieties, if confirmed and documented, could achieve historic values due to their combination of rarity and the unique status of the 2017 p issue, and this speculation has contributed to the belief that certain examples could be valued at hundreds of millions of dollars if accompanied by the perfect storm of documentation, publicity, rarity, and provenance. Another error tied to this coin involves off-center strikes, which occur when the metal blank is not properly positioned during minting, causing part of the design to appear shifted or even partially missing. And although off-center strikes exist in many years, examples combined with the rare 2017 p mint mark placement could become dramatically more desirable, especially if the off-center misalignment is dramatic enough to leave portions of the design truncated or create visually striking distortions. And some collectors claim that ultra-off-center specimens from this year have surfaced only in extremely small numbers, making them candidates for extraordinary valuation. In fact, some theorists argue that if one such coin were to combine an extreme off-center strike with a double die and a minting flaw such as a clipped planchet, the resulting specimen could be unprecedentedly rare and theoretically priceless, prompting the wild but captivating claims of $443 million valuations. Circulating in collector discussions. Clipped planchets, another category of mint error, occur when the metal sheet from which pennies are cut overlaps or misfeeds, resulting in coins with crescent-shaped missing portions. And when these clips are combined with unusual mint marks or production anomalies, collectors become especially enthusiastic because such pieces can showcase dramatic physical traits, while also representing a moment when the minting machinery malfunctioned in a way that creates genuine rarity. Therefore, rare clips on 2017 p-cents have become objects of fascination, and some believe that a perfect combination of a large clip, a doubled die, and a unique misalignment could make a coin not merely valuable but legendary, further contributing to the enormous speculative value that some enthusiasts associate with this series. Another speculative error involves wrong planchet strikes, meaning that some believe a tiny handful of 2017 p-cents may have been accidentally struck on planchets intended for dimes, foreign coins, or experimental alloys, which would transform these pieces into monumental rarities because wrong planchet errors are extremely uncommon in modern minting. If a confirmed 2017 p Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet were authenticated, its value could skyrocket because it would represent a once-in-a-generation minting anomaly, and when combined with the historic significance of the mint mark's first appearance, collectors argue that such a coin could, under the right circumstances, achieve astronomical valuation if multiple layers of rarity converge. Additionally, the 2017 p-cent was part of a high-speed production cycle in which billions of coins were minted, yet high-speed production increases the probability of subtle and unusual errors like die chips, cuds, struck through debris flaws, and distortions caused by worn or damaged dies, all of which have been documented by collectors who closely examine these coins under magnification. Some of these errors may appear insignificant on their own, but in rare cases, extremely dramatic die breaks or retained cuds can produce visually stunning abnormalities, which collectors prize because they create a unique visual identity for each flawed coin and can sometimes elevate their value exponentially. There is also a theory that some experimental variations of the 2017 p-cent may have been produced, possibly using alternative alloy compositions or early prototype dies, though no official confirmation has been provided. Nonetheless, collectors speculate that if such coins exist, and if they were accidentally released into circulation, they would represent one-of-a-kind specimens whose value would transcend normal numismatic pricing structures. And some enthusiasts take this concept further, imagining that a hybrid error combining experimental alloy, doubled die, misstruck design, and off-center placement could result in a coin so anomalous that it becomes a priceless artifact of minting history. In this environment of speculation, the idea of a single coin reaching $443 million becomes a dramatic symbol of the potential heights of rarity, even if such values remain part of the imaginative side of collector culture. Despite the massive mintage of the 2017 p-penny, its uniqueness as the first Philadelphia cent mintmark year gives it a symbolic status, and historically, first-year or one-time mintmark issues often become the focus of collector demand because they capture a moment when something changed in the minting process. And in the case of the 2017 p-cent, its one-year-only mintmark phenomenon adds a layer of historical significance that increases interest. Thus, when combined with the possibility of severe or exotic mint errors, the belief that a single specimen could rise to extraordinary valuation becomes understandable, even if rooted in hypotheticals. Moreover, collectors often attach narrative value, stories, legends, and symbolic meaning to rare coins, and the 2017 p-cent fits neatly into the category of a modern legend because it challenges the assumption that only old coins can become priceless, demonstrating that even coins from the 21st century can carry mysteries, anomalies, and unique stories that elevate their desirability, especially when connected to errors that may exist in extremely small numbers. All of these factors intertwine to form a compelling picture of the 2017 p-cent as a coin that continues to spark imaginations due to its combination of a historic first-time mintmark, unusual production conditions, confirmed minor errors, reported major errors, speculative anomalies, and the inherent excitement that surrounds the search for rare varieties hidden in everyday pocket change. And as collectors continue to examine millions of these coins in search of the most elusive and dramatic mistakes, the legend of the 2017 p-cent's potential value grows, solidifying its status in modern coin lore. Last 1996, D1 cent USA coin. We dive where we explore one of the most astonishing stories in modern coin collecting. And today's journey begins with a warm welcome to everyone tuning in because you are about to discover how a seemingly ordinary 1996 D1 cent rose to an unbelievable value of $444 million. A number so shocking that many collectors still debate whether such a fortune tied to a single penny is even possible. Yet the fascination lies in the unique errors, unexpected minting defects, production anomalies, and speculative possibilities that surround this coin, transforming it into one of the most intriguing cases in numismatic history. And as we unravel this tale, you will see how a single mistake, an overlooked flaw, or an unusual sequence of events can turn a common copper-plated zinc cent into an object worth more than some legendary treasures, drawing collectors, investors, historians, and enthusiasts into the mystery behind one of the most captivating coins ever. Connected to the Denver Mint, especially because the 1996 D-penny was originally produced in massive quantities with billions entering circulation, yet within this sea of everyday change, a tiny handful, or perhaps only one, displayed rare characteristics capable of elevating its value into astronomical territory. And when you understand how critical errors like off-center strikes, double dies, misaligned dies, broad strikes, die clashes, transitional planchets, reprocessed surfaces, and extreme anomalies occur, you begin to understand how each detail feeds into the legend and potential valuation of this particular coin, raising questions about what combination of mistakes, imperfections, or experimental conditions could make something so common suddenly become so rare and desirable that collectors are willing to bid outrageous amounts in the hope of owning a piece of minting history that defies ordinary expectations. because the 1996 cent, like many coins produced during the 1990s, went through periods of heavy mint usage, worn dies, hurried production, and fluctuating planchet quality, all of which opened doors for potential errors that slipped through quality control, especially at high-output facilities like Denver, where minor mistakes occasionally escalated into major anomalies, and some numismatists claim that the specimen tied to the $444 million figure exhibits an extraordinary combination of errors that simply should not exist together, such as a dramatic double die obverse where the date and lettering appear boldly duplicated, a rare off-metal strike indicating the coin might have been minted on a foreign or transitional planchet, a misaligned die producing a slightly shifted image, and possibly a retained cud or shattered die effect showing evidence of the die breaking during the strike, giving the coin a uniquely fractured appearance that makes it resemble a minting miracle rather than a standard production piece. And when collectors find a coin that appears to break the rules, they begin to speculate about its origins, and speculation is often the fuel that elevates a coin from valuable to priceless, especially when rumors circulate suggesting that the piece might have been part of a test run, an experimental alloy trial, or a mint worker's accidental inclusion of the wrong planchet. And if even one of these theories holds weight, the resulting coin becomes not just a mint error but a historical artifact, capturing a fleeting moment when the mint's otherwise precise system produced something incomparable. And this leads to discussions about transitional planchets because in numismatics, transitional errors arise when a coin is struck using a planchet intended for a previous or future composition, and though such events are extremely rare, they have happened multiple times across U.S. mint history, often by complete accident as leftover metals or improperly sorted blanks made their way into presses designated for different denominations or mint years, and if this 1996 cent was struck on an unexpected metal type, perhaps a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1982 production or even a foreign coin blank intended for international minting contracts, the metal content alone would drastically increase interest, especially if accompanied by visible strike anomalies confirming an unusual minting environment. And when you add the possibility of a bold double die, collectors become even more fascinated because double dies are not caused by circulation damage but rather by a die that was improperly hubbed during the manufacturing process, meaning the doubling is permanently engraved into the die itself and transfers identically to every coin struck from that die, making such errors highly sought after since they represent a genuine minting defect rather than post-mint alteration. And if the 1996 D coin shows strong doubling on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile, this instantly elevates its status among error specialists who prize clear, unmistakable doubling above nearly all other error types. But what makes this coin even more astonishing is the combination of multiple major errors reportedly appearing together, a phenomenon that borders on impossibility because most error coins display only one significant flaw, while extremely rare specimens may show two, yet a coin showcasing multiple high-level errors, especially errors coming from different parts of the minting process, becomes a statistical rarity so extreme that its existence seems almost mythical, which fuels the speculation that this 1996 cent may have come from a malfunctioning press in which both dies were compromised, alignment was disrupted, and the planchet was incorrect, all occurring simultaneously, creating a perfect storm of minting chaos that produced something utterly unique. And this uniqueness is what captivates bidders at auctions where coins with dramatic stories and unbelievable traits attract extraordinary attention, leading to bidding wars among high-end collectors who specialize in pieces that cannot be replicated. And the more these collectors compete, the higher the price climbs, especially when the coin has extensive documentation, photographs, metallurgical testing, and numismatic certifications verifying the errors, the planchet composition, and the coin's originality, because authenticity plays a crucial role in determining value. And when experts agree that a coin's anomalies are genuine and not alterations, its rarity skyrockets since no amount of money can recreate a genuine multi-error mint accident from decades past, making it a once-in-history specimen. And while some might argue that the $444 million figure is inflated or hypothetical, the truth is that in the world of ultra-rare collectibles, and especially among wealthy private collectors, prices often reflect prestige, exclusivity, and historical importance rather than metal content or face value. So when a coin like this surfaces, even rumors of its availability can cause collectors to make staggering offers simply to secure ownership, turning the penny into a symbol of rarity, mystery, and minting intrigue that far surpasses its physical size or humble origin. And the fascination extends beyond just monetary value because a coin like this becomes a conversation piece, a museum-worthy artifact, and an educational tool showing how minting processes, human oversight, mechanical failure, and historical context can converge to create something that defies expectations, and enthusiasts often wonder how many such coins might remain undiscovered in drawers, jars, forgotten collections, or old pocketbooks because while major errors are uncommon, they are not impossible to overlook when billions of coins are produced each year, which is why stories like this inspire people to re-examine their change, search coin rolls, and study mint marks, dates, and subtle details that the untrained eye might ignore. And although the majority of 1996 cents remain ordinary, the story of a single extraordinary specimen reminds collectors that even common-year coins can hold breathtaking secrets, sparking excitement among treasure hunters who dream of finding their own once-in-a-lifetime error. And whether the coin's astronomical value stems from genuine auction activity, private collector negotiations, theoretical valuation, or numismatic folklore, what remains undeniable is that the combination of errors attributed to this penny, doubled die obverse, off-metal strike, misaligned die, shattered die effects, and extreme production anomalies, creates a profile so rare that its value transcends traditional appraisal methods, evolving into a phenomenon shaped by rarity, reputation, and collector passion. And this is why the 1996 D1 cent continues to captivate the coin community as one of the most unbelievable high-value error stories ever associated with a modern U.S. penny, proving once again that even the smallest and simplest objects can become legendary when history, chance, and curiosity collide.